I would like to continue today with the ongoing series about wisdom with a focus, appropriately given the nearness of Thanksgiving, on the subject of gratitude. When our eldest daughter, Allie, had learned to walk, I, on occasion, would take her to work with me. She would play in my office, which was large and spacious and had a wonderfully soft carpet. I won't get into the details. But we would walk from the car to the stairs that went down to the office door at this office of mine in the great Pacific Northwest. And I would help her out of her car seat. I guess she was 2 or 3, thereabouts. And I would take her by her little hand, precious memories, and we would walk the 25 or 30 feet to the top of the stairs, which went down to the door. Well, 8 months a year in the great Pacific Northwest, there are little water puddles everywhere because it's drizzling all the time. And so we walked across an asphalt parking lot, and there were inevitably little indentions in the parking lot, and water would settle there. And Allie immediately, every time we walked that walk, became intrigued with those puddles. And she would stop and stare at them. And I would think, what is she looking at? And I would think, oh my God, there's so many things I need to do. I need to get over to the office, give her her toys, etc., let her play on the floor, and I can get down to work, the important things. That didn't affect her in any way. And so she would dwell by these little pools of water, and then she learned that if she gave them a little tap with her foot, then it would cause ripples. And oh my God, there was a whole new world of watching these little waves across the pond of this water. And then, in a rebellion, asserting the seriousness of my life, I parked another place where we then walked through a very grassy area past low-hanging limbs of a tree and by huge stones that weirdly protruded out of the ground about 6 or 7 feet, had moss all over them. But it turned out this was a strategic mistake on my part because she would stop and look at the grass. She'd sometimes bend down and pick a blade of grass and look at it. And then the limbs of this tree, I don't know what kind it was, were low-hanging, and she would stop and look at the things hanging on the tree. And then she would always stop at that humongous rock protruding weirdly out of the ground and occasionally work up the nerve to try to climb it and study the moss on it. Every time she did this, I would be slightly, or more than slightly, irritated. As I looked toward my office, thinking about all the serious adult things I needed to do. Well, this went on for some time. And very slowly, over time, it dawned on me that maybe she knew something I didn't. Or knew something I had forgotten. Over time, her fascination with the utterly mundane began to make sense to me. And one day I accidentally saw a poem that made me think of this. It's by John O'Donnell. "I would like to live," he wrote, "like a river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding." Allie's behavior was a way of being in the world wherein one savors and enjoys what is happening now, guided and permeated by a sense of wonder. Gratitude and appreciation, even wonder, are natural and spontaneous parts of us. But living in our society moves us in other directions. Let's fast forward a few years. Now it's Christmas time. Our children are young. Christmas is a big deal in our household. The trees, the ornaments, the works. Alphys and I enjoyed introducing our two young children to our sense of joy of Christmas. And part of that was gift giving. Over the years, however, I noticed something interesting. I noticed one Christmas that Allie and Lily would open one gift and then eagerly race to the next one and tear it open, and then go from there to eagerly tearing up the next one, and then the next one, depending on how many they had. My wife and I began to notice what we called the Christmas gift frenzy, and that it did not contribute to their happiness. In fact, it seemed to make them unhappy. It looked like we were fostering the formation of an insatiable hunger for more and for what their friends might have. It affected their mood adversely, and ours as well. So we began a rule initiating that one present per day only, so that they could only enjoy one gift one day at a time. Enjoyment was expanded into anticipation of what might come to be. The excitement of the holidays was expanded over a greater distance, but the underlying problem never left. Something had been put in motion by us, well-meaning parents, that we felt powerless to control. Rather than gratitude, they had become more accustomed to receiving gifts, thinking that in the more and more, in the getting of more and more, happiness lies. Our society is filled with adults who think happiness is found exclusively in acquiring more and more. And that is one reason we have an environmental crisis. That is one reason why we as individuals in a society get further and further away from the orientation to life known as gratitude. During this time, I also just happened to attend a board retreat at the home of one of the members, who was also a board member of the congregation I then served. Now, as a little bit of background, during the months of July and August, the area of this country between Seattle, north of there for about 100 miles, up to Canada, is truly one of the most remarkably beautiful places in the entire country. And this woman's house was situated north of Seattle at the top of a very steep hill that rose about a mile from the shore of the Puget Sound. And I walked into her house, and I immediately looked to my right, and there was a huge picture window. And I looked through that window, and there was the beautiful blue waters of the Puget Sound and the white sails of big sailboats against that blue. And far out in the distance was Whidbey Island. And then way up to the north was Orcas Island and other places. And it was a beautiful scene. And because there's so much rain during most of the year and a lot of sun during a couple of months during the summer, everything is very plush. Trees, green everywhere, flowers growing. It's quite beautiful. And so after I walked in the house and greeted a few people, I turned to the lady who owned the house, who was a wonderful, lovely person, and I said, "Well, you have a fabulous view." And she said to me, "What view?" And I said, "The view out on the right here, your big picture window." And she was busy preparing for food for the board members. And she said, "Oh, that, we hardly notice it anymore. We've seen it so many times." That comment made a big impression on me because it resonated with something I have experienced in life. We humans are caught up in the drama of our lives, and we lose touch with the pure joy of being alive, the wonder of nature, and the power of gratitude, which is that thing which connects us emotionally and psychologically with the wonder of being alive. I have known people who are very fortunate in how they were born financially and have prospered economically to a remarkable degree, and who are yet insatiably tortured by the yearning for more. I have met people of very humble standing in life who seem to exude pure joy because they are grateful for what is. There are some pieces of wisdom that I think are universal, that stand out and above, that transcend time and place and situation, and I think gratitude is one of them. The practice of gratitude grows out of a deliberate choice to notice and appreciate life. The path of wisdom involves reinviting and reestablishing the place of gratitude in our lives. The real reality is, everything is a gift. My heartbeat is a gift. I don't do anything to make my heart beat. It just beats for me and keeps me alive. The earth and the bounty of the earth is a gift. I didn't do anything to earn it. The air I breathe, the lungs I have to enable me to survive on the air around me is a gift. The love of one another, the compassion of people is a gift. The kindness you might experience from someone this week is a gift. The smile of the faces of people around you is a gift. The extension of the arms of someone to hug you is a gift. The reality is, everything is a gift. The long process of evolution that miraculously led to us being here today against all odds is a gift. When I talk about gratitude, I am not minimizing suffering. Life can be very difficult. For many people on earth, life is hell. A hell of despair, addiction, grief, injustice, cruelty, hopelessness, and more. And there are seasons in our life, no matter how fortunate we are, that are carved with tragedy and hardship, as when we lose a loved one. I hear the sound of angels. Now, that's an indication that this is important to pay attention to. When the angels themselves feel compelled to speak. Furthermore, we live in a society that is permeated with the attempt to persuade us at every turn to be dissatisfied that we don't have more, where more means more of anything or everything, and faster is better than slower. The total personal debt of the U.S. right now is at an all-time high of $15 trillion. That's a lot of money. The average American debt in the United States today is $59,000. That is, to some extent, a reflection of overconsumption, which members of our society are addicted to. Another way appreciation and gratitude is undermined in us is by the comparing mind. We are continually tempted to compare our possessions, our standing, our social accomplishments, and professional status with others, and resent what others have achieved and what we perceive we have not, to resent what others have that we do not have, and on in infinite variations. And that comparing mind is a cancer upon the body of gratitude. Yes, the deterrents to gratitude are pervasive and powerful, but to the extent we can, I am certain, beyond all doubt, that it is a wise thing to try to cultivate gratitude. I have personally found it very powerful in good times and bad times to try to cultivate a deep appreciation for life. And by appreciation, I mean appreciating everything. The sounds, the smells, the presences of others, even the difficulties. And certainly nature in all its wonder and beauty, to savor each moment. If wisdom is the map and the guidance that helps us on the journey of life, surely gratitude is one part of that guidance. So my wish for you on this Thanksgiving holiday is, amid all the eating and merrymaking and activity, is that you might cultivate the habit of gratitude. And now the choir.